All right. So why do you think African Americans don't support the Second Amendment as much as they should?
I think we've just been conditioned to think that guns are a bad thing. So
Okay.
nobody ever thinks about it as a tool to protect oneself. They just think of it as a tool that's used by criminals. So nobody actually thinks about the Second Amendment as it was written for protection against tyranny against the government, and nobody believes that the government is ever going to become tyrannical.
But why specifically with us as African Americans? Like, why is it that we don't teach it? You think it's just the fact that fathers don't teach it, or fathers aren't in the home, or it's not? Because I didn't learn about firearms through my father or my grandfather. I learned through online on YouTube.
Right, it's demographics.
Demographics.
I mean, we tend to live in the urban areas. So that's not something that is a big factor in the urban areas in terms of, teaching it as a sport.
Gotcha.
Or
hunting.
As hunting is something like that. So again, the exposure that we get is through the media. Where it's seen as a negative tool. As opposed to if we lived out in the suburbs, where it's seen as
when it comes to guns in our community, is only negative aspects that are highlighted.
Negative aspects.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you guys from the more rural area or more
We're from the city?
You're from the city,
Born
okay.
and raised in New York City.
New York.
Just like guns, easily.
Got you.
Yeah.
So there's no gun culture in New York.
Right.
It's
well,
bad.
there is just the negative part.
And if you happen to be the one person that likes guns, they look at you a little suspicious, like, oh, why do you like guns?
Okay. Now you crazy.
Right, you're crazy, you're gonna shoot up. So that's the thing, that's that negative connotation.
Okay. All right, you?
Well, listen, I own 4 guns, 2 rifles, and a cabinet full of ammo. I love shooting.
Okay. All right, well, that's all I wanted to ask you, brother.
Legally.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Right,
So you from the Philly area, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your take on why, you look around this place, you don't see a whole bunch of us in here. So what's your take on why you think African Americans don't support the Second Amendment like we should?
Because it's not cool to do things the right way.
What do you mean?
It seems
Give me the breakdown. Break it down.
All right. It seems like if you're doing something illegal, it's cool. You know what I mean? So if you're doing things the right way, it's not cool. You could buy a gun in your name if you don't have no record, but 9 times out of 10, a lot of young guys think I gotta get a dirty gun. You know what I mean? So it ain't attached to my name, but all in all, you're allowed to have one attached to your name if you're not a criminal.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And most young guys aren't criminals until they get caught.
Until they get caught, and then they jam themselves up forever.
Right. So it's not cool to do things the right way. Everybody want to take a shortcut.
Gotcha. You think it's because I don't know what the relationship is in terms of brothers that grow up in the rural areas versus brothers that grow up in the city. You think it's just the same across the board? There's no culture? There's no gun culture, you know what I'm saying?
Right. But the gun culture is
we don't hunt.
way.
Go ahead.
Right. So it's the street guys with the dirty gun. That's the culture.
That's the culture. What do you think it would take for us to be more involved? Guys taking care of their families, stuff like that. Because I'm saying we need protection, both from threats inside the community and outside the community, right? So what do you think it would take for us to get more people involved, more young guys involved?
Somebody gotta lead by example,
Just lead by example?
You only know what you see and what you hear,
Okay.
So all the kids hear, the rap and everything, the movies, you know what I mean? How we look, we criminals.
Where did you learn about firearms from?
I look on YouTube and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
You didn't have any black male elders that
Nah. See,
nobody put you on?
Nah, I'm a cement mason and I work with a lot of Caucasian guys and they talk about it at work, you know what I mean? So they're giving me their game on it, you know what I mean?
Got you.
So that's how I learned a lot about certain stuff too.
Okay, all right. I'm not gonna take up too much of your time, man. Thanks, brother.
Appreciate you.
All right, man. So why don't you think African Americans support the Second Amendment as much as we should?
Because they don't know enough about it. They're ignorant to the fact of the Second Amendment, that everybody has the right to bear arms.
Okay. So what do you think it is? It's just culture? Like how come everybody else gets it but we don't get it?
If you look at just media and everything, we're just made out to be everything about us considered with guns is always negative.
Always
in a
negative
manner. You know, just look at the moniker that you see every day. You know, you see people with the sidearm shooting and everything like that.
Yeah.
It's never showed that, you know, black people use guns properly. Everything is showed that it's like when we have a gun, it's used illegally.
What do you think could be done in order to change the culture, like in terms of like possibly people teaching?
Yes, right? Definitely. That was my next word. Like they have to be taught.
Okay.
Actually, what they need to start coming out to more town hall meetings and so on and so forth, like things that are out in the open, that they would learn more about, you know, their Second Amendment rights, because they don't know that their Second Amendment rights even exist. Most of them don't even know that, so they have to understand that you have the right to bear arms.
You know? Got you. Where did you learn about firearms?
I learned a lot. You know, I have my uncles, my dad, and everybody, like, you know what I mean, showed me that, you know, they're all firearm carrying persons, you know, older black men that, you know, always had. So it's like they carry legally. Some of them were in the military, some of them law enforcement and everything. So it's like, you know, I learned at a young age that you are able to do this.
Okay. All right. You from like the Philadelphia area?
Yes,
okay. You think there's a difference in terms of how African Americans from rural areas interact with firearms versus urban areas, or is all the same?
A big difference, because, you know, in the rural area they're going to see more. They're going to be 9 out of 10 they do hunting and so on and so forth out there. So, you know, in the city you don't have that. People don't have no clue about hunting. They see TV and the youngins will say, oh, that's weird. Like, why they killing him, something like that. But if you look at TV, you see all the other people, you know, showing their kids at a very young age how to use and, you know, perform with firearms.
Okay.
We never are taught that. Everybody's like, it's bad, don't have a firearm, don't play with firearms, it's bad, and which is not.
Gotcha. All right, well, I appreciate you. I want to get your opinion on that. So, all right, thanks.
All right,
I'm just running around here asking a whole bunch of every brother I see.
There you go.
You know.
Make sure that you're taking care of anything
Okay.
you need, just let me know.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it, man.
I think it's set up. They already know who they want to have certain rights and whatnot. Everything is set up. Everything is set up in the government. They know who they want to get the rights to and who don't deserve the rights. So they give to whoever they want.
Why don't we get involved more in it? Like, how come we're not as involved in the Second Amendment as possible? I'm saying we an ex-slave population, right?
Right.
So you would think that we would take self-defense seriously, but we don't. Why don't we?
Because a lot of areas where we live in self-defense, we don't even have that. Like, for example, I'm in Maryland. We don't even have a self-defense law. If anything happened, even to protect ourselves, we would still get locked up for a long time for no reason, for defending ourselves, like you say, self-defense. So honestly, everything is set up, like I said. I think the government.
So you can't defend yourself at all.
Can't.
That's the law. So how come we don't try to change the law? Like, we don't organize to try to change the law.
Regardless, it's not gonna get changed.
It's not gonna get changed.
It's not gonna get changed. Regardless, they know what. Everything is already set up. Like I said, that's what I got in my head. Everything's set up.
I'm saying we fight for every other right. You know what I'm saying? Like, we march for everything else. We march for the, the First Amendment right. Oh, you can't stop me from saying this, that, and the third. Unlawful search and seizure. But when it comes to the Second Amendment, we like, oh no, I can't. We can't talk about that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But
we don't go hard in the paint for the 2A.
I feel you.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but really, it ain't really too much I can say about that, honestly. But
okay.
I really don't, man.
All right, man. I appreciate you. All right, man. All right. Since you're one of the only women I've asked, because you're the only one I've seen, to be honest. So why do you think? Or no, you know what? I'll do one better. Why do you think African American women don't support the Second Amendment as much as they should? Because you've seen them up on there on MSNBC and CNN and Joy Reid.
I do not watch the news. I'm serious.
Okay.
I'm not a news person at all.
You thinking? You pontificating right now?
I'm thinking because you were talking about CNN and the news, and everybody knows me. No, I don't watch the news.
You don't watch? Okay.
I literally, my brother said, why don't you never know what's going on? I said, because it's depressing, and I don't feel like hearing this.
But culturally speaking, why do you think Why do you think we don't support?
You're probably asking the wrong person. I should have my brother and his
Really?
girlfriend right here.
I mean, it's got to be a concern for black women because I'm saying the number one victims of homicide, gun violence, are black men, right? That's your sons, that's your brothers, your fathers, right?
And you're true, but that's pretty much us.
Huh?
That's us taking each other out.
Yeah, no, it's us taking each other out. But I'm saying, arguably, there's also the aspect of black women being the largest victims of domestic violence and things of that nature, right? So you would think that they would take it more upon themselves to want to be able to defend themselves, but they don't. They're just like, we want to get rid of all the guns.
Why? Probably well, people that's in domestic violence situations and stuff, they're not honestly gonna shoot the person that's whipping their behind, so they keep going back.
Okay.
It's not until they get to that point where they're tired. Only they know when they had enough.
When they had enough, okay.
And that's when they're gonna run out.
Okay. All right.
You know what I mean? I really think they support it because I think you should know how to defend yourself.
Wait, just speak up a little bit more.
Should defend yourself. I hate this. Should be able to defend yourself and know how.
Okay.
The main thing is like, because you can go buy a gun, but if you don't know how to work it or use it,
okay,
that's the issue.
So what got you involved in like, I mean, you're here, huh?
I'm a retired police officer.
Oh, you a retired police officer. Oh, well, I'm asking the wrong person.
No,
but still, you here
with my daughter.
Okay.
You know, it's like, come on.
Your daughter carries?
No, I would like, come on, let's go to the range so I can show you.
You've been trying to get your daughter to go to the range.
She went. She do.
Okay.
She did go, and then she liked it and stuff. But it's just a matter of her going and like, okay, do you want to get a permit? And mentally and all that other stuff, you really have to be able to handle that. You know what I mean? Because you don't want the first, like, most shootings are like, because you got in an argument, you heat it up and bam.
She's single, she married?
Right, she's single.
Okay.
So, you know, you get in an argument and bam, you're shooting someone. Okay. And later you're like, oh my God, I didn't want to do that. But mentally and all that stuff, you have to be ready.
You have to be ready. You're ready for it.
You know,
because there's always the potential you got to take somebody out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't want to be just because you're mad at somebody, you arguing with your boyfriend, you got to heat it up.
Okay.
And so that's my issue, like, as far as my daughter, because I have seen her in action. I'm like, oh, maybe I don't want to.
Maybe she's not the type of person. Okay, I got you.
You got to get a little more mature to go to that.
How old is she?
She's 25.
Okay.
Got you. And like, and most shootings are.
Yeah, they're in that age range.
Yeah, 30. You know what I mean? Because it's over what, an argument or
emotions.
It gets all
feelings and emotions.
And crazy. So I don't like that part about it. So I think it's like a matter of, like, they buy them, but I really think they need to be. If you're gonna buy one and carry, you need to go to a training.
But why do you think the community, like, as a whole, like, you see everybody else who's here, right? They obviously, they're teaching the kids. It's a cultural thing. You can see it in terms of, you know, the flags and the.
They teach their kids.
They teach their kids. Yeah.
We don't.
At all.
You know what I mean? It's like.
You think it's because there's lack of fathers in the home? You think fathers should be the one teaching the self-defense?
That's also. I'm not saying it's because of that, but that is also because even if it's a lack of father, you can always send your child to like a karate thing or something that would teach them that. But it's just that more of them, they sit down with their kids. They had that thing and they teach them. Where like our kids will learn when they get 20 and then, oh, I'm gonna have this done, you know. Yeah. I'm fascinated. You
think we're afraid of law?
I think it's education. Yeah.
We're afraid of law enforcement and
I mean, come on.
Black man with gun equals criminal.
Exactly. Like if you see me walking down the street and I got a gun, next to Becky, she has one. Who you think they're gonna stop first?
Yeah, they're gonna stop me.
Exactly. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's another thing too, and it's like.
You think we're being fear-mongered into not exercising the right? Like as though it's like you're like because a lot of people that I've talked to.
Legally, yeah.
Legally, yeah.
Yes.
What do you mean legally, yeah?
Like if you want to carry a gun legally, it's all permitted. I mean, the guys out here that just have one, they're not legal. They just carry them because they want to. But if you want like legally, like okay, again, that comes with maturity and everything too. Because legally, you can get the thug out here. Yeah. He could have one, but if he has the mindset, oh yeah, I got one, I can do what I want.
So we just, because another brother, he pointed that out. He said that it's like we just skipped that whole process. We just said if I'm gonna get one, I'm gonna get one. Well, they don't think in terms of, like, in other words, they got one, they're gonna have it on them, and it doesn't become illegal until they get caught.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So I appreciate this interview. I just wanted to get your opinion. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Oh, that's no problem. I was looking for my brother in the middle. I don't know.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. Go ahead. So why do you think that we as African Americans don't support the Second Amendment as much as we should? And I definitely need a woman's opinion as well.
Oh,
I got one black female's opinion so far. Go ahead.
I don't know. We're guilty regardless. I guess that's why they won't exercise it.
Well,
I mean, I guess if you're black, you're automatically guilty, so they won't exercise it right. They won't do it because they already think they're already guilty of something or of anything just for being black.
Where did you learn about firearms?
I grew up with firearms.
You grew up with firearms?
Yeah.
You were from a rural area or from like the city?
I'm from the rural area.
Rural area?
Yeah.
Okay. You think it's a cultural difference between black people who grow up in the urban environment versus in the city environment?
Yeah, they missed that. They missed that. They missed that part of like me growing up in the rural area and them being in the city. They can't exercise the Second Amendment like I was able to.
Okay.
Because they're confined in their city life. The city, but you got some people good that come out of the city too. Mm-hmm. There's more crime in the city than it is in the rural area.
But how come you think, why is it that our Caucasian brethren, they seem to teach about firearms from a very early age, but with us it's just taboo?
Because they have that right and they're going to exercise that right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Caucasian exercise whatever's there for the Caucasian American, they're going to go after that.
Okay.
And me as being an American, I feel the same way like the Caucasian. If that right's there for me, I'm going to take advantage of it.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Period.
Personally, I just feel like a lot of black Americans, a lot of people are uneducated.
Okay.
Very uneducated. Like a lot of people may not know that they have that Second Amendment right. Like you have that right.
Mm-hmm.
So
why do you think because what I notice is a lot of African American women, they distance themselves more from the Second Amendment, even so than black men. I guess generally speaking, that's all women. Like women are like, oh, guns, so they run away from it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But so what brings you here?
I mean, this is just like this is my hobby. This is just something that I'm very interested in. Like it gives me empowerment almost. I can do this just like the next man standing next to me.
Not fake empowerment.
No, it's not fake empowerment. Like I have like I said, as a black American, I have the right to do it. As a black woman, I can do it, but I can do it just like the next man standing next to me, regardless if he's black, white, Asian, whatever. I can. It just gives me that empowerment that I can protect myself. That I can do it. I know how to work these weapons just like the next man next to me.
Okay.
So.
What is your do you ever have these conversations with other black women, and what are your?
I know personally because I don't know a lot of black women that are into this like I am. So.
Okay. Do you try to get them into it?
I don't see a lot of women for me to try to say, hey, this is something that you can really exercise. I'm still trying to get my mom into it. So.
Got you. Yeah, so, I notice a lot of people trying to do that, and their parents are like,
so.
they're backing off. My dad told me, he said, every time he saw a gun growing up, it was always either cops had guns or criminals had guns. That was it.
Yeah.
There was no, granted they didn't have concealed carry until 86.
Yeah. And now with this day and age, with these, with the younger, like my generation, everyone is it's just more about this is what I got. Like I feel like a lot of, like I said earlier, uneducated. Everyone doesn't know how to use it properly. I'm not just gonna have it just to show off, just to say that I have it. No, you need to know how to use it properly. You need to know, like, in case you do get in a situation, you need to know how to protect yourself. And that's why me as a woman, I know how to handle these weapons. Like, it's just uneducated. A lot of people just don't know.
They don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know. Yeah, I mean, like I said, she said everything. She just said everything.
Okay.
But it's more.
You should exercise it. I mean, it's there for you, and you should exercise your, the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, the opportunity.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Too political.
No. You don't gotta make it political. Just why do you think we don't get involved as much as we should? Okay. So go ahead.
Oh, you're recording?
Yeah, I'm just recording the audio.
Video.
No, I'm not doing video. I'm doing it's anonymity. You know what I mean? People got jobs and stuff like that.
That's cool. And what's your question?
Why is it that African Americans don't get involved in the Second Amendment as much as we should?
I believe there's a big stigma in our communities when it comes to firearms. and not being educated, the stigma is that guns are associated with the violence, especially in inner cities and urban communities, in which a lot of us come from. So there's been a big fear factor when it comes to firearms. But I believe to stop a lot of the things that's happening in our communities is for responsible, law-abiding citizens to arm themselves and to protect their homes, their families, and their properties from the things that's going on in our communities. And that starts with, one, purchasing a firearm, two, training with that firearm and getting proper training, and to carry and be responsible. It's not so much as a political aspect. I would say it's more of a human right to defend yourself and to be able to own a firearm and defend yourself. So I believe us as a people, we need to come together and do that.
Where did you originally learn about firearms? Was it Black Elders? Was it the internet?
I originally learned about firearms from my father. My father he's carried as long as I've known. He's actually exposed me to a firearm and taught me how to handle a firearm.
At what age?
I would say I was about 9 years old. It could have been a little bit younger, maybe 8. It's about roughly about 8 or 9. It could have been a little bit younger. My memory is kind of faded right now.
Okay.
But it was around that age. I would say between the ages of 6 and 9. He obviously unloaded the firearm, let me hold the firearm. He killed the curiosity. And then as I got older, I made the conscious decision myself to purchase a firearm. It was nothing that was pushed on me by anything pertaining to movies or video games or anything like that. It was just a conscious decision that I made.
You think it's black men's responsibility to disseminate the information to the next generation, the younger black men?
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like they don't get the proper information. They don't even know it's their right. They don't even know that they can exercise it.
Sure. I think it's a responsibility for the elders to pass down not only information pertaining to how to protect themselves, information pertaining to just life in general, health and wealth, history, knowledge. I'm a big advocate for that. I've written plenty of articles on generational wealth and history and self-defense as well. So I believe it's the elders' role to pass down that information. But we also have to understand there's a difference between elders and olders. So there's a lot of olders who don't have the proper information, who wasn't taught and wasn't handed down the proper information. So we got to make sure that we're getting our information from the people that's knowledgeable and people that are elders that have wisdom. There you go. So it's a difference between elders and olders. So every old person isn't wise. You see what I'm saying? So we have to make sure that we're obtaining the information from the right people. And like I go back and like I said earlier, defending yourself is a human right. I don't get too political into the Second Amendment thing. It is a law and it is a constitutional right, but I believe it goes further than that. It's a human right.
You should exercise the right regardless of what it says on a piece of paper.
Regardless if you live in the United States, Canada, Mexico, Africa, Australia.
Okay.
Iceland.
I got you.
It's a human right.
Okay, so I'm saying, granted, I agree with you 100%. It's a human right? But in terms of the law being written, you see the way that they're trying to curb the Second Amendment, eliminate it, basically say you can't have, like you could take, for example, the laws in New York and New Jersey versus Pennsylvania, right? So if black people don't get politically involved in the Second Amendment, then we run the risk of just, I understand that some people, they just going to have what they're going to have regardless of what it says. But it's about, in my opinion, it's also about the accessibility to it, because you could say, okay, I can stockpile, I can stash all I want, but at the end of the day, the next generation isn't going to be able to go and possess or purchase new firearms if they ban all this and say, okay, you can't exercise that right.
Sure. I believe that people should be aware of what's going on pertaining to the laws, and take action if they feel that that's necessary to their respective life. But it goes back to what I said. I feel like it's a human right, so I believe that you should fight for it, and you should demand it. and you should carry. Everybody should carry.
Got you.
You know what I mean? If everyone on this planet carried a firearm, I would have no problem with that. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And I actually think that the world would be a lot more peaceful because if I know the next man got a firearm, he know I got a firearm. Look, ain't nothing to argue about.
Bros.
Ain't nothing to argue about. You know what I'm saying?
No, I got you. I appreciate you, brother, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, man.
Their rights may be challenged. So if you don't already have and already buy into what you need, one day your rights to the Second Amendment may be challenged, and at that point it'll be even tougher for African Americans in general.
Yeah, it ain't important the fact that most people will assume that we're still excluded from life.
That's very true.
As opposed to, we are all here equally.
And that we won't be welcomed here or will be looked at a certain way just upon entering. Because when you enter the space,
so you feel like people are intimidated to come here to an environment like this?
Ignorance to it.
They think it's going to be just a bunch of rednecks. You had preconceived notions before you came here?
I've been coming 15 years and I've been begging her like, come on,
all
come
the
on.
pickup trucks and everybody
come
seeing
on,
their
come look.
flannels.
And it's the only place that everybody is the same. Like we all got the same principle.
Yeah, I haven't any. I mean, it's majority white folks in here, but I haven't had any. I don't feel like I've been treated any differently. Like even when I go up and ask, can I examine this firearm? They don't. I don't.
I come so much they know my name. Like I got friends here. Like,
also, look where the event is held.
Yeah.
Whereas though we're closer to the inner city, we do come from the inner city.
Are there any vendors? Are we any of the vendors?
So this
no, there's two of them.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a couple.
There's some
couple black
vendors from Philly that.
So how do you? Because I'm saying I do get a lot of men's opinions. I'm gonna let you speak, but I just want to get her opinion in terms of African American women. Because if you look at like MSNBC, CNN, and all that, you see a lot of women that are very anti-gun. I mean, I say women just in general are like they're apprehensive about firearms. So like, do you speak with other women, or do you have like any? Is there pushback?
But I do think it would be beneficial to have a woman's perspective. I don't speak with other women, and I feel like they probably get most of their input from men. So if they heard input from another woman, especially like a woman who's been in law enforcement all her life, or just a woman who's grown up around firearms and firearm safety, they would feel more comfortable in knowing that it's a woman's right also to protect themselves, even if it's just to protect your home. Like I don't plan to carry regularly, but I do plan to feel safe in my home.
You have anything? Huh? No? Okay.
Yeah, I'm done.
Thank you.
Huh?
I'm done.
I
didn't already went off.
Oh, you already? No, I didn't get it. I didn't get the first part.
Oh yeah, I mean, no, like you say, what the show represents pretty much like for us as a people is your right. It's like take on your right. Like you'll let people sit there and pigeonhole you to think that you're outsourced or that you're outcasted in a place that you're actually welcome. Then if you have any knowledge or structure within yourself, you can actually this is your right. Like as long as it's your legal right, like go for it. Like,
do you feel like the stereotypical criminality of black people hinders us, coming in here?
Naturally.
No, you need to speak on it. Speak on it.
Being in law enforcement, it's unfortunate
that
and working in our community, which is where I've worked for 30 years as a police officer, it's our people, unfortunately, are more comfortable buying that one under the table, hidden, even people without a record. They would rather...
Another brother said the same thing.
They would rather get it from in the hood that they don't know what's attached to that weapon, what body might be attached. Yeah. I don't know if it's because we're comfortable with where we are or the simple fact that we don't know, but it's sad to see when you pull up or do a car stop on somebody and you can legally have one, but instead you didn't go do the paperwork to have one.
So when they get caught, then it's illegal, and
then it becomes illegal. Then you can't get one.
Yeah, then you can't get one.
So I don't know. Maybe it's a better education. We need to educate our people even more. Like it's okay for you to go get that permit. It's okay. You have a right to get it too.
Do you feel it has a lot to do with the fact that you don't have a lot of black fathers in the home, so they're not teaching that?
Absolutely. Those that don't know, and I'm not gonna put it only on the black fathers, but the mothers as well. Because we have stayed with that under our umbrella of our own for so long, and all of this has been going on around. All of this has been going on.
Do you feel like women feel like black women feel like they don't want black men to have guns because black men might use those guns against them?
I'm not going to agree to that one. Not entirely.
Not entirely?
No, not entirely. I mean, that goes down. That'll take us back to the whole black family, which they've done a perfect job at destroyed.
Destroyed it, yeah.
And I say that because I get no's from this all the time, black women, unfortunately. We think that if you're a housewife and you're a black woman, that you're going to be looked at, you're going to be beneath the other sisters. That's not true.
You gotta
if you didn't go to college and you didn't, no, you don't have to. But we put that on them because they let us put that on them. But you find how many white women, whether they're educated or uneducated, they home with their 6 kids.
Yeah.
They got a community to help them. They got family to help them. And nobody's talking about it. Becky can stay home with her kids. But let Felicia stay home. She's lazy. Yeah. She's shiftless.
But I know some people will argue that a lot of black men are not in the financial position to give black women the luxury to be able to be a stay-at-home mom.
That's true. And that goes back to, again, the first thing you want to do is destroy that family. So by destroying that family, if you take the most power out of the black man and then the woman has to step up, then she feels like I'm doing X and Y, where is he going to fit in? Does he get to still run his home? Does he still get to protect his home? Now, that sister might feel like, he get a gun, we get an argument, he might use it. But he still has to be the head of his home. Yeah. No matter who's bringing the most bread, he still has to be the head of his home.
But how can he be head of household in turn if he doesn't control the finances?
I say it like this. For one, coming from me, even if and making more money than my husband did all my life, the money went into an account and he handled the bills.
Okay.
He's supposed to be that way.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that when I say that I agree. If I have something that I don't agree with him, we discuss it. But at the end of the day, he should have the last say.
Okay.
He really should have the last say. That's the only way the family can knit.
Okay.
And we're not doing that.
Meaning to have a proper orientation.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. Okay. And it's a shame it's not a lot more of us out here because we need to be.
Yeah, you're about the what?
Maybe
the 5th or 6th group that I've talked to. Yeah, I try. I'm trying. I'm going around. I'm looking.
To be.
Yeah.
I don't know if we even know about it because we probably don't go on many of them sites.
Be a second police officer.
Even the sites that show you how to fire, how to shoot, all of those things on YouTube. I don't think many of us watch that.
I learned about firearms from YouTube. I didn't learn about it from the men in my family.
Okay.
So that's what brought me into the culture. And what I found, the other young guys that got brought in, that's how we got brought in through YouTube. We say, why can't we do that? We can exercise.
Why aren't we having our children?
But I wouldn't have heard that from my father. I wouldn't have heard that from my grandfather. And I'm saying they were present, but I still wouldn't have heard it from them because, like my dad pointed out, he said when he was growing up, the only thing that guns were associated with were cops and criminals. Yeah. But you can think about it, like he grew up in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and they didn't have concealed carry until 86.
But what he's saying is still holds true for us,
even
not
today.
Everybody else, cops and bad guys.
Yeah.
So, but I think like our children we see kids out here. You see the kids on YouTube.
Yeah.
Our children need to know how. I say that because with my daughter, they were very young when I was in the academy 30 years ago. So what I did to them, I unloaded that weapon, I put it in their hand. I let both of my daughters
get the curiosity.
Get it all, but not just to get it out, but later on. So you learn how to work this thing. If mommy can't get to it, you get to it. It's that important. I mean, our children need to know. I mean, look at the world we live in.
Yeah.
And without them knowing the gun safety, we see children who shoot children or themselves accidentally.
They just had the guy. It's sad, the father who's trying to teach both of his sons. And I'm like, this is a good thing. He's there. He's trying to teach him, but obviously,
It's caused, and I'm not saying the gun is, but lack of gun safety.
Yeah.
But we don't teach our children gun safety because you said it. That's the worst part of it. Guns are cops and bad people in our community.
In our community.
How do we change that?
Yeah, because we're the face of all the homicides.
Yeah. How do we change that? That's the focus. How do we change that?
Yeah.
I mean,
I do feel like it does start with, at least with this aspect. We could talk about the poverty and all that stuff, but I'm saying even just the basic understanding of firearms, we don't have. It's very taboo.
It is.
It's very taboo.
We see how in an environment where it's not. There's nothing taboo about them here. Everybody.
Oh no, you see how deep they are in here.
Yes. So how do we get our people to see it's not taboo? It really isn't. It really, really isn't. Like even.
You think the church also has something to do with it? The idea of Christianity, like you can't hurt nobody, turn the other cheek,
It's an unfortunate thing also because we've been trained that we're, and you know what the problem with us is? We've always had this thing in us where we'll, maybe because of slavery and because of coming up through civil rights and those things that our fathers, grandfathers, or whatever went through, we always took that back seat to them.
to being pacifist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think the church anymore is looked at quite like that, because you see pastors are strapped now.
Yeah.
You know, and they have armor bearers who carry. Like one of the churches in Philly,
especially
so they're with it.
Especially after the whole you good.
So they're
especially
fine.
after the whole Dylan Roof situation.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're fine with it now. But it's just such an educational thing that we're missing. We're missing, and we need it. We need it. There's nothing wrong with protecting yours. There's nothing wrong with getting your permit, what you need to carry, or even if you just want to target shoot, even if you just want to make a craft, a hobby out of it. Or why aren't we building guns? Why aren't we? Why?
Yeah, well, they just changed the law recently.
Yeah, he was telling me about that. But yeah, he knows
you
all
can
about
still
that.
you can still build it, but it's if you can't possess it, then you get because they had that whole issue of it with it. What is it defined as? What is this?
So where are our ranges? Where's the ranges where we can actually go? We can actually have law enforcement or whomever to explain to our people, to tell them, listen, you can, and this is what we can do, and here's a class for the children or certain ages or certain levels.
Now we don't have that.
Yeah.
But I think. What about the cost of it all?
That's another thing.
You know what I mean? I start trying to introduce people to firearms, and then they start looking at the ammo prices. I even tell them, I'm like, look, go to like sgammo.com
so
or
do you see why in the hood somebody else will get it and get it filtered into us, and we can go pay so much less? But you got all the problems that come with it when you
instead
buy
of coming here and paying $500 for $525 for a brand new Glock.
But is that $525 unfortunately in the budget in some of our homes? We should make it in the budget. Perhaps that sneaker we don't need. Yeah. Perhaps that jacket with that name on it that has nothing to do with protecting us at home, we don't need.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there are avenues where we need to. But then again, that comes with the educating us.
Mm-hmm.
Put that other stuff aside.
Okay.
Learn this. It's not a bad thing to learn to save your life or your family's life. But we don't think that way, because in the hood I can get it for so much cheaper.
Gotcha.
But I don't know what's attached to, especially the weapon. I don't know what body's attached.
Then you get hit with the bodies.
Yes.
Absolutely. Now you getting hit with 5 murders and you didn't commit any, but it's tied to you because you was running around with a dirty gun. Yeah.
So you never know what they're selling you anyway.
Gotcha.
But I wish we could find a way to educate. This would be beautiful to see a whole lot more of us. I'm not saying all, but it would.
Yeah, it would be. But I'm gonna let you get back to your people. I don't want to. They're right over there.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Good talking
all
to
right.
you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Opposite opinion.
I mean, it's all right, man. Right to bear arms. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, I don't understand the premise of your question, though. I mean,
in terms of us culturally speaking, I mean, when you look around and you look at the demographics in here, you don't see a whole bunch of us.
No.
Okay.
No.
Right. So why do you think that is? Why do you think we don't support it the way that we should support it?
I couldn't tell you. My support comes from my service. You know
your service? Okay.
Yeah,
I see the hat.
The carryover. I mean, I couldn't speak for another individual. I mean, as far as
did you grow up around firearms?
Kind of. My grandfather was a hunter. He did a lot of hunting. Deer season came around, he did his thing, you know. So it was always a shotgun, whatever in the house.
So you were raised more in a rural area, not necessarily in the urban area.
North Philly.
North Philly. And he went hunting?
Yeah, he was a hunter.
Okay.
But that's a pretty good question, though. Like I say, my Second Amendment thing
came from the military.
From the military.
Got you. Yeah, because I talked to a bunch of other people, and they talked about negative perceptions that African Americans have, like in terms of anytime you see a black man with a gun, it's a criminality.
Right.
The way we're perceived in the media.
Friends of mine I speak to of our like-minded, most of which have served, but like you said, it's very few. I really couldn't. This would be a shit interview. I couldn't tell you, man.
I mean, you got a lot of friends that are in the firearms, or they're all military guys, I'm assuming.
Very few friends to start, but the ones that are prior military, some that hadn't served but are enthusiasts.
Okay. Because a lot of people would look up to you guys and say, I'm saying just for the African American community, that you guys should be sharing the wisdom that you have and the skill set that you have with other African Americans that don't know about firearms, right? Because you got the training from the military.
Would love to do so, but at this point, I mean, at my age, people that I come across and talk to, millennials and shit like that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I mean, you really can't tell them much.
Do you think they don't have a mindset to like they're not receptive
they're
to?
On a whole different plane, you know. I mean, most of the things I went through, especially in the military, I mean, some of these kids weren't even born yet. I mean, they got all the answers though.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They got all the answers. I mean, I just don't deal with it. So.
Nah, that's understandable.
The first thing they want to do is Google some shit. Well, I don't have to Google shit that I lived through. You know what I mean? Shit like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, but they got all the answers, and then when you call them on it, you know. So.
Yeah, because for me, for example, I mean, I didn't learn about firearms from my father,
right?
Or my grandfather. I learned about firearms through the white men that I observed on YouTube. So if it wasn't for YouTube, I wouldn't even know anything about. I wouldn't know anything about. I mean, that's where I got my information. I could have went and tried to find somebody
YouTube,
to ask.
YouTube, man, you really need to take in the meat, spit out the bones, because you got a lot of yahoos running around out of YouTube.
True, without a doubt, without a doubt.
I mean, careful what you observe and what you're told on YouTube. Like I say, I'm quite sure. I mean, but like I said, do your research. I mean, you do your homework. So.
Okay.
But I can just speak from experience. As far as the African American side of it, it's sad to say when you hear guns and blacks, there's some type of criminality to it.
Yeah.
And you know.
I mean, we already know. I mean, young black men are the face of gun homicide.
Right.
I mean, we're 85% of all gun homicide deaths.
Right.
Homicide deaths specifically, not suicide. That's our Caucasian brother.
Right.
But I'm just trying to figure out ways in which, to get people more involved or ask the questions of why we're not involved like that. Because I mean, if people want to argue, they want to say, the government is racist, Donald Trump is racist. They want to say, the police are out to get us and everything. And you would think that as an ex-slave population, that we would be, about it. Or even just with what black people went through the civil rights movement, you would think that we would be the most hardcore when it comes to self-preservation, but it seems that we're scared of firearms and just the Second Amendment in general, as though it doesn't extend to us.
Well,
you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
I know it's not something that you think about because you come in here, ain't nobody gonna say nothing. You got your veteran hat on,
I think that's the old lady. Excuse me for a moment.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Well, I'll let you go.
All right.
I'll talk. Thanks, brother. As a young brother. So
why don't they?
Yeah, why don't we support the Second Amendment like we should? You see, like when you look around here, you see the demographics. There's not a whole bunch of us in here.
I feel you.
Right. So.
Well, what I feel like why the community don't support it as much as they do is because a lot of us have them illegally, and whether it's for a crime or whether it's to protect your family, protect yourself from an opposite gang or whatever the case is. You always see us going to jail over them, stuff like that. I personally support the Second Amendment. I support it legally because, you have to be able to protect yourself. Now, at the end of the day, if they take away our guns, who's going to have guns? Criminals. People that's trying to rob you, people that's, or people that's honestly trying to protect their family, but then they're going to go to jail for having it, and they're not supposed to. But all in all, I think that I think the majority don't support it because of the stigma behind it.
Meaning black man with gun equals criminality?
Yeah. People look at it and they think like, oh, well, if my son walking around with a gun, then, they're going to think that he's a criminal where, some people had to convince, their loved ones of like, no, it's not like that, or whatever the case is. I know me personally, I supported it for years. I kind of got my mom on board with supporting it too. Letting her know, like, look, like all my guns are legal. I'm not no dumb guy out here.
Yeah, running out here in the streets. Yeah,
I got it to protect my family. And at the end of the day, I would rather have a million guns, per se, and a lot of ammo, and never need to use them. Than somebody kick down my door
and you got nothing but your ass.
So I would rather have them and not need them than need them and not have them.
Got it. Okay.
So like I said, I think that's the reason why we don't, because it's just a big stigma.
Where did you learn about firearms?
I was self-taught since I was about 15. My brother, he's significantly older than me. He got his first one, and he explained it to me, showed it to me, and then that was it.
So it's an older brother.
Yeah, I was still interested in him, so I took upon myself to like go online, teach myself a lot. Then
where did he learn?
What did he learn? I'm not even sure. Where he learned. But like I said, I went online and taught myself.
YouTube?
I went out to gun stores. By the time I was 21, I had bought my first one. I bought my rifle a few days later after that. And, I go to the range, train myself. I learned gun safety first and foremost before I even, got one. A lot of people don't understand how important gun safety is. They think it's, it's a gun, it's like a water gun, it's like a BB gun, You don't touch the trigger, it's not going to happen. It sounds about right, but, it's still proper etiquette, muzzle control, knowing where you're pointing it, know what's behind your target, stuff like that. So it's more so I was self-taught. Do your research. I actually tell a lot of people, black, white, whatever, if they don't know about it, I say educate yourself on it. Learn about it, do your research, go to a gun shop. Everybody's always willing to give out information. Mm-hmm. If you come across somebody that's in the gun shop that don't want to give out information, they're not the person that you want to talk to.
Have you ever felt intimidated or out of place due to the environment, be it that we're not the majority of the environment, and then when we walk in the door, there may be a preconceived notion about who we are when it comes to us, purchasing a firearm?
Yeah, I mean, I felt it per se, and thinking like, oh, they're probably looking at me, it's me around all these other people, and they're probably looking at me like, oh, this guy, he has a hoodie on, he's scruffy looking,
Okay.
Stuff like that. But for the most part, when I talk to people, no, I really don't get that type of feeling, especially when I can show my education.
Okay.
Where it's like a guy that worked in the gun shop for 30 years, he's telling me something, and I'm keeping up with the conversation with him. As in, like,
or what they're saying is dead wrong, and you know more about firearms than what they know.
Yeah, and then I'll tell them, I'll prove my facts was to be right, and they're like, oh snap, like he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of times where I talk to like older people, where like they know about guns, and I'll keep up with their conversation, and I'll be like, yeah, I remember back in 19 whatever, this happened, or Arsenal Firearms put out the double barrel 1911 as a commemoration to the 100 year anniversary of Colt's 1911. And they're like, oh wow, like he knows these type of things. And it's like, as long as you educate yourself, nobody can ever take your education away from you. No matter how smart somebody else is, no matter the demographic, no matter what area you're in, nobody can ever take your education away from you. Nobody can ever take your knowledge away from you. So that's why I always encourage anybody to like learn and.
Have you tried to teach try to get other brothers involved in firearms?
Yeah, all the time.
How did that go?
It went well with the main people that I actually tried to. Because I don't push it on people. Like, if I tell you something about it and you're just like, you know what I mean? Then it's like, all right, I'm not going to continue it, because at the end of the day, you're not going to give a 5-year-old a car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not going to let a 5-year-old drive up the street.
So in other words, if they're not, there's a level of you have to get there individually, mentally, before you can really even engage them in the conversation about firearms.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because like one thing is like I'm a Freemason.
Okay.
So when people
a lot of y'all here tonight, man. Yeah, a lot of y'all Freemasons don't play, man.
But it's just a lot of people, they have it's like when they hear I'm a Mason, they ask me about it.
Yeah.
And then I see their reactions to certain things. Obviously I can't tell them everything, but little stuff I can tell them. I see their reactions to it, and it looks like they're interested. And I hear them keep asking me. Then we can further the conversation.
Gotcha.
But if I say it and they're just like, then it's like, all right, cool. I'm letting the conversation there.
Gotcha.
Like I said, you can't force feed nobody anything. I can mention it to you. I can say, hey, it's smart it's smart for you to at least have a gun in your house and know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Like, 'cause at the end of the day, if we have, like, let's say fallout, catastrophe, because people don't understand how easily like civil unrest can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say somehow all the power in Philadelphia goes out.
Mm-hmm. No, it go with Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Sandy.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand what comes with that. And they're like, oh, well, we'll call the cops. So, well, if the cops can't come. Oh, well, National Guard, they're going to come in and do their thing. All right, but what if they don't come to your area just yet? You still got to deal with your crazy neighbor that hated you, and he's like, oh, I want to go kill this guy. You still got to deal with protecting your family. And that's what I'm big on, is being able to protect my family by any means. Because at the end of the day, no man likes to be caught with his pants down. You know what I mean? You always want to be able to have a way to protect your family and have a knowledge of how to protect yourself, and have an idea of self-sustainability. Whereas though, if you can't call nobody, you can't get in touch with nobody, you get into a car accident. It's just survival. It's not all about guns, but just survival in general.
Yeah.
You get into a car accident, your car flipped down the ditch, you ain't got your phone, you can't get in contact. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I really don't see a lot of black people, like black preppers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't really see too many of us involved in preparation for, a rainy day, so to speak.
Yeah, honestly, I think we're too complacent in the matter, and I think not even just black people. I think as a whole, people are just too complacent because we haven't had a big catastrophe on the East Coast or something like that. But then they see, when they see like Hurricane Katrina happen, when they see like all the looting and stuff, it's like, yeah, it's one thing to see it on the news.
It's another thing to experience it.
Exactly. It's another thing for you to have a corner store at the next door to your house. Next thing you know, you hear gunshots, you hear windows getting bust out, people stealing stuff, and when you hear about all these things happening and how intense everything is getting, it's okay to see it on TV, but then when it's you in there, what are you going to do? I mean? What's going to be your out? So that's why I would like for everybody to be educated on guns in the right way. And I don't think gun control is the solution. I don't think it's the solution at all. Because at the end of the day, like I said, if you take our guns, and who else going to have guns?
Pookie going to have them.
Exactly. So it ain't going to be, somebody come in my house, what am I going to do? Run to the kitchen, grab a butter knife? You know what I mean? What am I going to do? Try to throw hands?
Now you're going to grab one of his comb knives.
Yeah, exactly. Like I can't, you can't sit there and punch a bullet. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I always, another big thing that black people don't think about is body armor. A lot of them look past body armor. A lot of people that I talk to about body armor, a lot of them actually think it's illegal for citizens to have.
They do. They think it's illegal to have.
And I explain to everybody all the time, it's not illegal. You can buy. I actually met somebody. He was
You can go to AR500. You can go to SpartanArmor.com.
Exactly where I got mine from, AR500.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that it's illegal. I actually talked to a guy who's the head of a SWAT team. He thought it was illegal, and I educated him no, it's not illegal for citizens to have them.
Yeah.
It's illegal for you to use them.
They're actually trying to legislate to ban them. Some of the Democratic politicians are actually trying. It's like, oh, you can't have a gun because that's offensive.
Right.
But then they're trying to say you can't have a gun, have a body armor, and that's defensive. Clearly.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually heard somebody that was he could have been a Republican. I really don't know, but he was actually telling me. He said, it's bad when they're trying to take away your defense. Like, it's one thing when they're trying to take away the guns, the offense.
Yeah.
He said, but it's bad when they're trying to take it away.
Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah, we don't block your customers.
But he said that it's one thing that they're trying to take away your right to defend yourself, but it's another thing if they're trying to take away your right to stop yourself from getting hurt. In other words, of wearing body armor. Because at the end of the day, if I wear body armor outside and I don't got nothing else on me, who am I hurt? Who can I hurt?
Nobody.
I can't hurt nobody. At the end of the day, if you try to take away my ability.
But see, that's not a threat. In other words, they recognize that that's not much of a threat to anybody else if you just had the body armor.
Right.
It's a threat to them because they can't stop you as fast as they want to be able to stop you.
Exactly.
And I'm talking about law enforcement at that point.
Exactly, I get you.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I think it's I think everybody should be educated, especially our color.
Yeah.
I especially think that we should be educated because these kids are being trained at like 6 years old, learn how to shoot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What 6-year-old black kid that's being trained on how to shoot?
No, not.
You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, a lot of people, like I said, it's just a stigma where people hate them. Like some people just hate guns. For whatever reason, everybody got their own reasons.
Hoplophobes. That's the term.
And it's just, at the end of the day, people, like I had a conversation with somebody and they was like, oh, I don't like guns because guns kill, right? I said, I'll take this pencil and stab you in the eye, you're going to die, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, it's a possibility. So should we ban pencils? Should we ban forks? We can't blame forks and spoons for making people fat.
Yeah.
We can't blame guns for people dying.
I think it's though that the people they fear the effectiveness of it.
Yes, they
right.
do.
The instantaneousness of it, if I can use it as a word.
Right.
So it's, and the other thing is I think a lot of people fear the idea of anybody having the power of God in their hand. The idea that you can take a life that quickly, that fastly, that efficiently. That's what scares most people, because they just, a lot of people run away from power. You know, see what I'm saying? And I don't understand that, especially with black people, being that black people have been powerless for so long. You would think that we would focus on that. You know, again, not to go out here and harm anybody, but to be able to protect ourselves from the clear threats that we do know exist and have historically existed against us for a very long time.
Yeah, like I said, it's just a lot of people, it's just a big stigma where I feel as though everybody should educate themselves. And I think a lot of people tie race into it, into terms of like guns. It's like, yeah, we understand where it originated from. We understand who created most of them. We understand that. But at the end of the day, you can't say like, oh, that's white man's sport. That's, something white people would do. At the end of the day, all right, now they do it, you don't. But who knows more about it now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, no, now they know more, but then, shit get real for you, then what? You can't protect yourself. You can fight, you can fight, but ain't nobody bulletproof. We all bleed the same color. And we all bleed the same color, and there's not a single person on this earth that's just naturally bulletproof. So, at the end of the day, you should always have a way to protect yourself, no matter what it is. You can be pacifist. At the end of the day, a pacifist, what you gonna do? Let somebody stab you up and say, I'm not gonna try to defend myself? No, you're gonna do what you gotta do. Humans have a basic survival instinct where no matter what, even if we lost all of our knowledge right now and we seen, a fire break out, we see that first person get burnt, we all running.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if we ain't got no knowledge, then we always got a basic survival instinct. And I feel like people should hone in on their basic survival instinct and figure out what would they do, if that was you.
Given a situation like that.
People don't see the videos of, like, it was a video I seen not too long ago with a mom. She was in the house. It was late night, probably about 11, 12 o'clock. 4 guys came, kicked her door right down. Right now, it's just her and her 2 kids in the house. She pulled out her .357 Magnum, shot a few shots. You see in the video, you see the bullets going through the doors. You see all of them start scrambling.
Oh, that's the joint. That's the joint with the Asian lady.
Yeah.
I seen that. At the end
of the day, what if she didn't have it? You know what I mean? A lot of people think that was the worst thing, but what if it's not?
Nah, she was probably only maybe a $125.
Exactly.
And she ran all 4 of them out of that house.
Yeah, and my thing is,
I think she killed one. She hit one in the driveway.
Yeah, she did hit one in the driveway through the door. But I think what I feel like, or what people don't understand is, they think death is the worst part. They think death is the worst thing. It's like, no, I don't believe it's the worst thing, because if my wife and daughter is in the house and somebody kicking and I'm not there, my thing is, what if they rape me? You know what I mean? And that's a terrible fucking thing, but it's like, what if? I personally couldn't live with that, knowing that somebody broke into my house and raped my wife and daughter. I'm gonna go to jail, because I'm gonna find the person, I'm gonna kill him. And that's, it's harsh to say, but no, that's what it is. It's a terrible thing. I think that's the worst crime actually out there is, pedophilia and, rape. I think that's one of the worst crimes. So at the end of the day, a lot of people need to be educated and understand, because look at how many of us is getting kidnapped. You know what I mean? Like how many videos now do you see, like, sex trafficking, people not?
But how many? They had that girl in New York, but she made that up. She got
because she wanted to stay with her boyfriend. Or something like that.
Something crazy.
But it's just like a lot of people don't know. What about the other?
All the times it really does happen, which is why it was so regrettable for her to do what she did.
Nobody think about those concentration camps that the immigrants was in. I seen on the news one time, but over like 1,200 kids went missing. Nobody.
I know that.
No, look it up. Like over 1,200 kids went missing out of one of those camps, and nobody know where they at. And that was on the news one time. They never talked about it again.
But I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm gonna let you do your thing. I got a whole bunch of other people I gotta run to. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you giving me the interview or whatever. You got anything you want to say? You got anything you want to add?
Conversation right there.
Nah, he was laying it out.
I'm just saying, the topic itself.
The topic itself. I'll let you handle him real quick.
How you doing? Into the Second Amendment like it should be. Well, I won't go back totally in history, but our community has a negative stereotype on firearms anyway, and it's justly so. However, we should take advantage of all the rights that we're given in this country, and most of the reason we have those stereotypes are for illegal firearms anyway. So I think education is what's most important about anything that you want to get into. And if you educate yourselves, defending yourself, no matter if it's for defending yourself, no matter if you're hunting, no matter whatever, we should sharpen our skills in every aspect, because that's an area that we are just out of touch.
So I'm saying, you say we should educate ourselves. I'm saying when you look at other communities, it's more of a culture. They get educated into it.
But they educate themselves.
You mean the children?
No. When I say ourselves, meaning ourselves.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's grown. Yeah. It's grown men. Yes. So I'm
just saying. But even as children, that's where the education starts. If you think about it.
Because I wouldn't have learned about it in my household. Most of the black men I've talked to today said that they wouldn't have learned it like that.
But that's the problem. Mm-hmm. We don't educate ourselves on that.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not taught in the household, then you see the aspect of the other end of it when nobody teaches you and you're out in the street.
Yeah, true.
We don't hunt. We don't know the damage that it does. Most times, even when we do shoot each other, it's from a distance, it's across the street, and we running. We don't see the end result.
Yeah.
We don't know the damage that's done.
Mm-hmm.
Not until it's somebody that we love that's gone.
It's hit, yeah.
And then it's fury from there. Doesn't matter the damage at that point.
Yeah.
So I do believe education is everything. You learn to respect the weapon. You learn how to use it, how to clean it, how to handle it. That it's not a toy. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of the mistake, accidental shootings from youth, because nobody ever told them. They're interested.
But you had that case, and I mean, it's tragic. And I could just say that was the rare incident. But the father that tried to teach his two sons and he shot his twin brother in Philly just recently.
Okay, I don't know. But I'm based out of Maryland.
Oh, okay.
However, again, as a firearms instructor, it's not gonna happen on my range.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know how.
In other words, the father didn't know what he was doing, and that's what ended up happening with the
education. Again, if he's educated to actually be on the range to teach someone.
Got you.
Then you do it the right way.
Can't have ignorant people teaching ignorant people.
There you go. Your barrel's always downrange at all times, just in case it goes on. It's going in the direction it's supposed to go into. So it's a lot of steps that we need to take, but we have to take them no matter what. I think we letting ourselves go, and unfortunately, they are very prepared for whatever. I don't know.
They're very what?
Prepared. They're loading up. I talk to people who come past here. I have 300 plus guns.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with this civil war or somebody's coming for me. The reality is, if they stop the food trucks from coming in your neighborhood, your neighbor gonna get hungry.
Yeah.
You gonna have to protect your front door.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that will eliminate it by itself. If they really want to do something, just stop those food trucks from coming.
What do they call it? 9 meals away from anarchy.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Now, be in your house looking fed while your neighbors
starving.
Yeah. So
that savagery will come out real quick.
It'll come out real quick.
We saw that in Hurricane Katrina.
So at the end of the day, we just have to know what's, educate. I think education is important on any. Put it like this. There's nothing else we can go into and just say, hey, you don't have to learn nothing about that. Just jump into it. Driving the car, you got to take a test. You got to do, you know what I'm saying? Anything you need to do comes with.
You have to show proficiency.
You have to show proficiency. So, yes, we're not born with the proficiency. But just like anything else, we got to educate ourselves on this. And then we will respect it and be willing to get into the Second Amendment.
Gotcha.
But when you know nothing about it, other than how it's been forced upon us on the other end of the stick. I mean, like I said, you can go back in history on why we don't. Even me, as an instructor, as a business owner, as a licensed car carrying firearm, I have a self-conscious issue on what type of weapon I wear, because I don't want any protrusion, I don't want no bulge, I don't want to make anybody nervous.
Know that you got it on.
Yeah, I don't need you to be nervous, because the stereotype.
Got you.
I started selling firearms because I see in these environments, we don't have anybody to talk to sometimes.
No, we don't.
Not to get good answers, not to get educated. You can't just ask the questions that you want. So that's why I got into it, so I could help educate.
Okay.
And I see people buy things that's in rap songs and in movies, But that's not what you want to defend your home with all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have
how many times they talking about Desert Eagles and songs?
Right.
Like,
you talking about AR-15. I'm like, hey, AR-15 is a great weapon.
Yeah.
But you live in an apartment, dude.
Yeah.
you like
you gonna hit your neighbors
and everything else. That's not the proper weapon because we're uneducated.
Yeah.
Looks good,
True.
sounds good. They rap about it. So now I got one.
Yeah.
So.
But I'll let you get back to your business. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Because I don't think they're educated to know exactly what the Second Amendment stands for. You know what I mean? They have to be more educated and let them know what the true history on the purpose of the cause. You know what I'm saying? If they, not to say as far as ignorant, but uneducated of what we need to know as far as principles and what do you call that? Policies or whatever, as far as towards the amendment, we'll be more supportive. You know what I'm saying?
So would you say culturally speaking, we don't recognize the importance of it?
I think we just don't acknowledge. I think we get too so like wrapped up in other things that they think what's important is not important to them. And then when it comes to hit the fan, when stuff hits the fan, it's like, oh, I wasn't informed on that. That's because you wasn't paying attention.
Well, you would think that hitting the fan, like if you look at most African American communities, the environment is hostile in terms of. Go ahead.
Getting back to my point.
Go ahead.
Not educated. I mean, look at the transition and what they're doing in Philly. So-called investors coming in the neighborhoods.
The eminent domain.
Right. Okay. But once again, Black America wasn't educated on real estate and investing and thinking long term. So therefore, being trapped, being uneducated, not knowing, thinking long term, you're gonna get wiped out every time.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I've always asked the question, with the history that we have in this country, you would think that we would be more greater advocates for the Second Amendment than we actually are.
I mean, it's sad to say in any African American neighborhood. Back when I was growing up in the 70s, you had more mom and pop stores was owned by Black people. We never had Hispanics in our neighborhood or Orientals, no disrespect to them. You physically had to go to Chinatown to buy Chinese food. But now, if you go walk through the neighborhoods now, there is no Black family-owned business as far as mom and pop stores. So the transition, once again, uneducated. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Uneducated.
So you also think it's tied to us not having fathers in the home, or less men in the home? Because I'm saying my father was in the home, but I didn't. But he told me growing up that firearms was associated. You were either a cop or you were a gang member. That was it. Like there was no in between. Now, understanding that the concealed carry didn't come into effect until about 1986. I mean, that's when it started. I think it was either Florida or Texas. But
a younger generation person pointed out to me. He said, "Why you think white children are not accidentally getting shot in the head playing with guns? Their parents teach them while they're young the fundamentals and the safety of a firearm. Compared to Black children, they sneak in our community is kept away, swept under the rug. So when they come across a firearm, they're not taught the safety of it, and that's the reason why you have all these accidents out here and these tragedies, which is sad. And once again, you're not being educated. And getting back to your point you had mentioned about fathers not being in the home, my father was in the Navy, so he taught me the structure and how to provide for your family and how to be a man. And I'm not knocking women out here as far as doing their thing, but Chris Rock said it clearly on his stand-up. I don't know if you ever came across it. He said, how many women out here doing their thing? A lot of women clap. He said, you can be a CEO of a company or the president. Ain't nothing more scary than I'm going to tell your dad. And that shook the whole crowd. You know what I mean? That's the point there. Pleasure talking.
All right, man. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Don't support it?
I
can't tell you why they don't.
Okay.
I mean, they may not know. Maybe a lack of knowledge. I mean, as far as not supporting it, I don't know.
You?
No comment.
No comment? You don't have any idea?
I don't know why they don't support it. Who says they don't support it? Because they're not here?
Well, not just not being here, but I feel like there's a stigma in the community in terms of us exercising our Second Amendment rights.
Well, the African Americans I know or speak for, they are proud owners of firearms.
You mean all the people that you roll with, right?
Pretty much.
Okay. All right, so I'm talking to the wrong crowd then.
Yes, sir.
But you don't run into any obstacles when you're talking to people, like they kind of like, they're like, oh my God, you got guns.
Well, they might feel some kind of way because of the gun violence that's in our community.
Because of the what? The gun violence that's in the community?
Yeah. So, you know, they might be a little more, elders might be a little more opposed to gun ownership, but, you know, we feel firmly on defending yourself.
But I get that sense when it comes to the younger people, they're more about the Second Amendment than the older generation.
Right.
Even though the older generation, they may have a gun, but when you start talking about AR-15s and stuff like that, they're like, nah, they just kind of rock with the revolver, the Smith & Wesson revolver, the J-frame.
I mean, technically, you know, you don't need a military gun to defend your home.
So you don't believe in the AR-15? You don't believe people?
I own several.
Oh, okay.
But that's only because if you're going to be out here putting them out here, mass populating.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I'm saying, you see the white folks up in here, they buying them up, they buying them like candy.
If they're going to have them, we're going to have them.
All right, thank you, brothers.
All right, man. Enjoy.
Don't engage in the Second Amendment as much as we should. Why are we not as involved as we should? Because I'm saying it's dwindled down in here, but I'm saying I've been here all day, and a lot of we weren't a large portion of the demographic. There's some of us in here. It increased, but
well, I think solely because of all the actions that's going on now these days. Always pointing everything as bad being on the black side. Whites always look at us as being the downside. But that being said, if things would change if everybody was just treating everybody equally. There's not equal. You come up here, you have to sit there and shout at somebody to get them to give you attention. It shouldn't be like that.
Well, you feel that you're treated differently when coming in here in terms of looking at the firearms?
Yeah, when you come to purchase something, they look at you like you ain't got no money to spend. I got a pocket full of money like that.
Really, that hasn't been I'm just saying it hasn't been my experience coming.
Like that. It's like that.
It's like that in here. When it comes down to you buying something,
you come here to look at something. You possibly ask a question about purchasing. They look the other way. If somebody else walk up to the other color, they quick to ask them, do you need any help?
Okay.
That's the way it is. That's nature.
Yeah, I haven't sat down at the table to actually try to purchase anything. I'm just here looking around and interviewing people and trying to figure out what people's experiences are.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think we're not as involved? I'm saying as a community.
Because we're already on the negative side of things, on the negative side of the fence anyway. With the whole black on black crime and all that other stuff. I mean, everybody's walking around saying, "Oh, the white person killed a black guy." Look at all the black on black we got going on. It's crazy. So when you sit there and say, "Can you come here and buy a gun?" Most of them can't get a gun because they've all been convicted for something. They can't purchase a gun if they wanted to. Half of them don't got their license right. I mean,
go ahead.
You want to sit there and try to figure out the tables between black and white. You gotta look at it across the board. Like, how many people can actually afford to come out here and purchase a gun and have their credentials correct? None. Hardly any of them.
So you're saying that you get jammed up at an early age?
Yeah, and it hinders you from buying what you want, even if for your personal or just to have for protection. It's just.
So you get hit with a little weed charge at 19, and the next thing you know, you're done.
Yep.
Okay. Do you think that, real quick, what did you learn about firearms?
I learned a lot about firearms. All my brothers been in the military, so therefore I learned.
There's a lot of military people here.
That's the only person gonna come here for a purchase. Military
and law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've come
up. The only ones that are capable of buying a gun.
So
the normal people can't. So because they've been convicted for some heinous little small thing, small little crime that they don't know how to waive because it happened when they were a teenager or whatever. Like,
so they're getting jammed up before they can even get to the 4473.
Right.
Okay. All right. And one last question: how do you think we can change some of that?
They got to start thinking about the future, and the future is taking care of their kids, because a lot of these guys out here don't take care of the responsibility. So you get the kids who are now falling behind in my era, and not able to make that change in life. So they go down the wrong path to get themselves into some trouble, and now we're at this state where you see
nobody in here. Right. Yeah, there are a few of us in here.
Right. So if guys start stepping up to the plate and do what they're supposed to do as far as their kids, making sure they mentor them and let them know that right from wrong. There's none of that right from wrong here.
Gotcha.
Like today, growing up, when I was growing up, they had both parents in the house. They're not like that now.
No, it's not like that. You are correct. All right. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time.
Yep.
All right. Take care.